Google Forms is by far my favorite tool that is available through the Google App Suite. There's just so much you can do with it, and you can get really creative. It goes way beyond just collecting information or collecting assignments or having self-grading quizzes, which are all three already amazingly great things. But being able to go a little bit further with a little bit more creativity creates a really, really awesome tool you can use in your class with your students. This is going to be what they refer to as a branching form. And what you're going to be creating is an intervention kind of laced assignment that the students are going to be able to take questions, and if they get them wrong, it'll direct them directly to the intervention that helps them go over that problem that they got wrong, and then you can send them right back to a similar problem or the same problem. That way they can make sure that they are learning as they're going. They're not just taking the quiz and saying, I'm getting stuff wrong at the end. They're getting intervention right on the spot, which this is the ultimate in personalized learning. This is a little bit advanced. It takes a little bit of time to plan out, but once you have these, they're absolutely amazing to use with your students. The first thing you're going to do is you're definitely going to want to get a piece of paper, and you're going to want to get a writing utensil, because you're going to want to plan this out. It takes a little bit of time. That way you can sit there and say, they're going to ask this question, and I'm going to have this intervention. If they answer question A wrong, they then go to the intervention for question 1. If they answer that correctly, they're going to go on to the next question. If they get that one wrong, they're going to go to that intervention. And you can always have them kind of loop around multiple times and ask them questions in different ways. I chose photosynthesis for this form and this topic, because the next thing you're going to do is, after you choose your topic and kind of planned it out, you're going to want to make sure that you have resources available that you can insert as interventions. Google Forms works really well with inserting images, whether you pull them off of the internet or if you have your own, you create your own, you have them from a textbook, you have them from other study materials, you can put them, take snapshots of them or upload them to your computer and input them. And then you can also pull videos from YouTube. So you have all of YouTube to choose from, but you also have the ability to make your own videos and upload them to YouTube and then include them in your interventions as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I went over to Google. I just checked real quick that there was actual photosynthesis stuff that I could use. And then I went to YouTube and I searched there as well. And I'll show you how one of the things I did, because the video is going to play and it's going to play from the start, is when I searched for photosynthesis, I went to the filters and then I went to short duration, less than 4 minutes. This way I'm only getting videos that are less than 4 minutes long. That way, if there's something that's crazy long, I'm not going to be trying to put that in to my form where a student's watching a half-hour video just trying to get to the intervention. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over to my form. I'm going to title it Photosynthesis Process. I'm going to put it up in the corner to make that. One of the first things I do with all of my quizzes is I make the first question last name, first name, just because when Google Forms collects information from students, it collects their student ID number, because that's what our user IDs are. It's not their name. So if you do last name, first name, you're better off being able to sort your sheet later on and actually knowing who did what. Next step is going to be creating sections. And you create sections by dropping all the way down to the right-hand side of your options, and you're going to click Add Section. And then this is going to come into play later on where it says after section 1, you're going to continue to next section, which is exactly what we want. You're going to want to make sure that eventually one of these says submit form. The very first time I tried to make one of these, I didn't make any of my sections submit the form. So the students just kept cycling through questions and it never actually let them finish. So lesson learned, you're going to want to make sure that at least one of them eventually says submit form. The very next part, I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to take the word photosynthesis. So I'm going to say photosynthesis question 1 is going to be my title of section 2, and I'm going to add a question. So I know that I have an image that I'm going to be able to use as an intervention. So my question for this is going to be, what do plants need to complete the chemical reaction? I'm going to be able to put options in here. So I'm going to say that they need chewing, that they need light, and then another option that's incorrect. I'm just going to say that they need power. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be able to create the section that's going to have the intervention for this question. And that's why this takes a little bit of planning. So I'm going to create a new section, once again, using the equal sign off to the right. And then I'm going to drop down here and I'm going to say intervention for question 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in an image, which is the little mountainy type icon. And I'm going to go search for photosynthesis. And I'm going to come down here and I have an image that will go with this. I'm going to select that one and put it in. So I have my image right here that is my intervention for if you get question 1 wrong. And now I need to come back up to question 1 and click on that question for if it's in edit mode. I'm going to come over to the 3 dots in the bottom right-hand corner of that question tab, and I'm going to click Go to Section Based on Answer. So I'm going to come up here. So it says chewing, light, and power all say continue to next section, but light is the only correct answer. So I'm going to let them continue to a different section, but if they pick chewing, I definitely want them to go to Section 3, Intervention for Question 1. If they pick power, I also want them to go to Section 3 for intervention for question 1. And if it's light, they're going to be able to go on to what's going to end up being Section 4, which is going to be the next question. So if they get it correct, they move forward. If they get it wrong, they're going to come back to intervention question 1. And what you can do is you can actually put the same question with that intervention. So I'm actually going to click the duplicate button, which is next to the trash can. It looks like 2 pieces of paper next to each other. I'm going to drag that question down to below the intervention. And I'm going to leave it right there. And now that I have my intervention set up and I have my second question down here, so when they get to the intervention, they're being asked the same question. And if they get it wrong, it's going to loop them back up again to the intervention until they get it correct. You can go in as far depth as you want with this. You can make this give multiple different interventions if they keep getting things wrong. You can keep setting that up as much as you want and plan that out and branch it really as far as you'd like. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to set up the next section for question 2, and I'm going to use this to set up a YouTube video one where I'm going to put in a question, and the question is going to be, what raw materials do plants need? And I'm going to put in here, and I know that one of them is soil, and that's going to be the correct answer. I'm going to put in here they need magic, and I'm going to put in here they need, let's just say that they need cheese, which we know is not correct. And then what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to be able to create a new section, once again, where that's going to be my intervention if they get it wrong. And I'm going to call this intervention 2. And then I'm going to be able to put in a YouTube video. So I can either search or I can get a URL. I know that this YouTube video has the answer for this right away. I'm going to come in here and post that URL, same video, and hit select. And it's going to get added in there. And I'm going to come back up once again to the first question. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to bring this down and drag it below the intervention and attach it there. I'm going to come up and I'm going to make sure that I click my 3 dots and say go to section based on answer. Soil is the correct answer, so I'm actually going to say that they're going to submit the form if they get that correct, because that's just going to be the end of my form. And if they get it wrong, I'm going to make sure they go to intervention 2. And once again, if they get it wrong, they're going to go to intervention 2. Notice how it's kind of important to make sure you title your sections, because it says go to section 5. And if you don't title it intervention or question, it's going to get kind of confusing as you're trying to connect all of them. I'm going to come up this time just to make sure. I'm going to come up here where it says chewing. Light is the correct answer. I'm going to click that and make sure that they're actually going to question 2, which is section 4, if they get that correct. And then I'm going to bring this down here, and I'm going to say same thing. If they get this wrong, 3 dots, go to section based on answer. soil, they're going to submit the form. And then if they get it wrong, again, they're going to go back to the intervention for that. You can get very creative with this. You can get it to the point where you're inserting the image or a diagram or a video first to go with a question. So I can actually play a math formula, how to solve a math formula. And I can put that in there, and then I can have answer options to a problem that I put. If they get it wrong, I can send them to another intervention process. I'm just going to preview this so that way you can see what it is. And I'm going to put in here my always sample student, Harry Potter, and I'm going to click next. So my first question pops up. What do plants need to complete the chemical reaction? I know that it's light. I'm going to click power because I know it's wrong. It's going to click me to that intervention for that question. I'm going to be able to read this diagram and figure out that it's supposed to be light. I can now click light, and it will take me back to my next question. What raw materials do plants need? I'm going to say it was magic, and it's going to take me to that YouTube video. I can then watch this YouTube video right in here.
Let's learn about photosynthesis. Plants make their food with the help of many things. Plants get their raw material for photosynthesis from the soil, the air, and the sun.
So I know soil is the correct answer now. I'm going to click soil, and it's going to click me back through, and now I'm going to be able to submit that process. So you can make this as in-depth as you want. You can make this go as a lesson. You can set it up as an original lesson. You can set it up as a pre-assessment. You can set it up as an exit ticket, but it really helps to provide that intervention on the spot as students are getting things incorrect. You're able to correct those misconceptions in real time, not waiting for that feedback. This is instantaneous feedback for the students. It does take a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of planning. You have to be able to figure out what your topic is, what questions you want to ask, and then, of course, what interventions can you put in there to help the students in real time. But once you master this, and once you get that process down of creating a question, creating a second section for the intervention, putting in your questions, putting in your interventions, and then choosing that based on answer part down here inside of the question, right click or left click on that three dots, go to section based on answer, and tying them all together, it becomes a really impactful, powerful tool in the classroom.